The last time I talked on this, there it is. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our speaker series. My name is Kiki Lucas. I am an assistant professor of dance here at Point Park University, and we are just so lucky to have such a wonderful panel of fantastic artists with us that have all graduated from these walls. We are focusing on entrepreneurship today. So they have taken their passion of dance and they have gone way above and beyond into even more endeavors. So I'm so excited to introduce them all to you. I'm going to do a quick little rundown and give you a small little intro, and then we'll come back and we will let them all share their story, their journey, their ups and downs with us today. And welcome student body, and welcome anyone that's joining us from afar today. We really appreciate you being us with the webinar series. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. So today we have Miss Dijon Kirkland. She is originally from Washington, D.C. She started her training at the Duke Ellington School. She was a modern focus when she was here at Point Park University. And since then, Miss Kirkland has broadened her talents from being a member of the Cavalier Girls. She's done freelance choreography and is also now interested in the Mujaba Dance Collective. We have a thumbing. All right, welcome. So nice to meet you and have you. I can't wait to hear everything about you. I'm going to introduce our next two as a duet. Also, our PPU grads, they are the founding members of Cincinnati, Ohio's Movement Emporium. It is a new, beautiful, new open concept space with, I love their mission, the mission to shape and encourage movement of all ages and levels, specializing in dance and in yoga, two of my favorite things. So please welcome Mr. John Litzler and Mr. Cody Sarko. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Here. Yay. They also had extensive careers before they started this adventure, so they will tell us all about all of it. All right, and then last but finally not least, we have the beautiful Miss Isabella Power. And Isabella is the Power Entertainment Productions. She's had an extensive career in Las Vegas, as well as Caribbean, Royal Cruise Lines. She's trained with such prestigious establishments such as Boston Ballet, also Miami City Ballet, and the Rock School before she graduated also from Point Park here. She is a very, also another soon to be graduate. She is soon to graduate from University of Central Florida with her Master's of Science in Management degree. So congratulations, yay, that's amazing. So let's go ahead and back it on up. We'll go ahead and start with Dijon, and Dijon, just take us through your journey, what has brought you to this point.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Okay, so went to Point Park, and so while I was at Point Park, one thing that kind of like was a struggle for me was like not being cast as much. And so I just want to let you all know to like not let that ruin your story, and like don't let that ruin your drive. Like keep pushing, because you're being seen, like, you know, whether you feel that you're being seen or not. But with that being said, after I left Point Park, I went on to do some pickup work. And then I spent 2 years in a second company at the Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. And from there, I auditioned for the Cleveland Cavalier Girls. That's another thing, like, you might think that, like, Kiki mentioned that I was a modern focus. But on Cavalier Girls, we did a lot of hip hop, heels, jazz, different things. And so just sure you keep up your training in all styles. And then I've done some commercial work, and then I'm like right now focusing on freelance choreography, and I'm also going to be starting my Master's of Fine Arts in Dance in the summer. So just kind of all over the place. But yeah, that's my journey. Thank you for having me.
Dijon. It's something we try to enforce here within the university. Let all the kids try as many things as they possibly can. I also teach an entrepreneurship course here, so it's so nice to hear you say these words. It's always better coming from someone else, not always the teacher. I see Owen. Hey, you've joined us. Hello, welcome, handsome.
Hello.
So we will get to you, and you will just do the same. Share. All right, moving on. Let's move into Mr. John Litzler and Cody.
Hey everyone. I'm so happy to be speaking to you all today. We'll kind of do a like
throw off each other because we're in one screen and we've had a similar path. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. We're currently living here again.
I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
We both graduated in 2013.
Both
and then
BFAs in jazz.
Yes, we were both jazz. You went in as ballet,
I went in as a ballet major
and then switched it up. But again, like Dijon said, you have to take everything. We teach our students, like, embrace as many styles as you can.
After I graduated, I went and danced with a company in Chicago called Visceral Dance Chicago.
With Owen.
We were roommates.
We lived with Owen.
Yeah, besties. And then from Chicago, we both moved to LA and we did some freelance work there. And
decided to move back to Cincinnati to start our own company.
Yes.
And do our own kind of more pre-professional work for the next generation.
So we ended up finding a space in our neighborhood that was like perfect for what we wanted to do. We built out raised floors, bought all the Marley,
did a lot of work,
did most of it ourselves, but luckily John's brother is a builder, so we got a little help in that field.
Department, yeah.
And now we have a pre-professional company. Age ranges from 10 to 19, and it's been so much fun. I mean, it helped us get through this pandemic.
Creating on inspiring students has been wonderful.
And now we're doing, we're doing a project with Miami University and
their opera program.
They're doing Philip Glass's Hydrogen Jukebox, and they're doing it on film, and they're gonna present it to a bunch of different film festivals. So that's kind of what we've been working on for the last couple of weeks now.
So outside of the studio, we also still kind of pick up work where we can.
But then you also danced for...
Oh, yeah. So I have almost the same story, except after college, I danced for River North instead of Visceral. But for the same amount of time and then went off. So yeah, that's it.
That's not it. That's a lot, gentlemen. of so many.
Threw that all at you.
It's amazing. I love it. I love to hear the stories. All right, Isabel, bring us into your life. What's happening with you now?
Well, hello from sunny Orlando, Florida. It was raining today, but actually now it's sunny, and that's how Florida is: rain, sun, all the things. But I graduated from Point Park in 2010. So I know I'm aging myself, but my concentration was ballet. And what else? Oh, as soon as I graduated, I got my first job at Universal Studios here in Orlando. And I don't know if any of you remember Ron Tassone, but I got to give a lot of credit to Ron because I took him for jazz. He was amazing, as we all know, but he actually, I was born and raised 2 hours from Orlando, but I never thought about the theme parks as a viable career option. I don't know why. But then I took a jazz class with Ron and he was just talking with me. And then he was like, "Where are you from again?" And I'm like, "Florida." And he's like, "Bingo, ding, ding, ding." And he was like, "Think about the theme parks, consider the theme parks." And so I did. And then a few months after graduation, I got a job as a Beauxbaton dancer in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And then I was there for about 1.5 years. And then I started working with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. And I did 4 contracts with them. And I also did a contract in Las Vegas with the show. It was called Jubilee. And it was the longest running classic showgirl show on the Strip. It had about 66 dancers and singers in it. And so I did that for a contract. I spent some time in New York teaching and choreographing. And then I came back to Orlando in 2017, started working again at Universal. And then I also founded my company, Power Entertainment Productions, LLC. So we are a business. We provide custom professional entertainment for any sort of event. So whether you want a contortionist at a corporate party, or whether you're throwing a country Western themed party and you want someone to come in and teach line dances, any sort of professional entertainer, we will provide that for you. And our mission with that too is to always fairly compensate our performers. All our entertainers are paid for any event they work with us. And what else? Oh, in 2 weeks I graduate with my, thanks. Yeah. It's hard. We know it's work. We put in so much work. And so a big part of running my company is communicating to clients, people that aren't in our industry, the value of entertainment and the work that we put into it. So they know that they do have to pay for it. And what else? Oh yeah. And then in 2 weeks, I graduate with my master's in business management.
Isabel, congratulations. That's amazing. I was also, when I was poking through your website about in the entertainment, I loved your mission. We focus a lot on mission statements in the entrepreneurship class. So I think it's really good for them to hear these. And I love that yours started with believes in the power of art and entertainment to spread joy and transform the world. Like, yes, right? It's like be a part of the solution or you can be a part of the problem. You got to pick one, right? So congratulations, Isabel. Super proud of you. Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. And last but finally not least, Mr. Owen Scarlett, please tell us about your journey.
Hello. So I graduated with John and Cody in 2013 from Point Park. Uh, Moved to Chicago, lived with both of them, my best friend. So also like, how awesome is that? uh, and danced for Visceral for 4 years in Chicago, and kind of like always like to dabble in many things like photography, like video work, and like got a camera like while I was at school, and like would just like take headshots. They came out like they didn't look good. Like I was like learning, but I would take headshots of like my friends and kind of just like always dabbling in different things outside of dance. But yeah, I feel like after I like left company life, just kind of realizing like nothing had to be like linear. And that was kind of like what helped me like feel like I was tapping into all these different things I liked. Like I liked graphic design, web design, photography, and I kind of always just wanted to like figure out how to do all those things. But there was not like one thing on paper that I was like, oh, this job does all these things. So I feel like through friends, I like really learned how to like just make it possible. Like Cody at Visceral was like, Owen has a camera. He can like record like some promo work, and like just like learning from friends and getting pushed out there from friends is like something that I like really valued from school. Like I think just like really setting into like things that interest you, and then just letting like your life inspire you and your friends and people. And like that's why I think it's important to like find your like tribe or like lack of a better word, yeah, at school and life. And I feel like that's like something that I have taken with me. And from Chicago, I moved to LA, and then had like some like good friends out here too. And I moved here, and that's where I started doing more photography work, and like got like lighting equipment and started to do more freelance. And I was like, oh, if you freelance, you kind of can do like whatever you want. It's like, you know, it's a lot of work because you have to like, you're your own boss. But I think like for me, someone that was like really wanting to do so many things, I was like, okay, I can like do commercial work if I like get an agent, and like, or you don't have to have an agent, but just like, you know, I can still dance, but then have freedom to like also put my photography work out there. And all these things, if they're creative, can go hand in hand. Like I met people that wanted photos from like dance jobs because they needed headshots, they needed photos of themselves, and then people that needed websites, or like maybe they're like their personal website as a dancer, or they're starting a side company like fitness company or something that also fed into their own career. Like just like learning all these things from like my friends and people that I knew, and kind of realizing that, oh, like nothing had to be linear. And I feel like that has been something that like in times like now, where like we like didn't have as many like resources for like in-person dance experiences, and we were kind of forced to not think in a linear way. It kind of like made things like seem more just like possible, if that made sense. Like I was like, okay, like I've already done things on the computer, like was making websites, was doing photography. I'm maybe not dancing as much like in person, like, you know, now, but like all these things like have made like different outlets to like continue to work. And I think like that's one thing I like always will like I think tell people is like don't not do something because you feel like it doesn't fit into like what your path is or what you're focusing on in school, because everything will matter at the end, and it will always like find its way into your life if you really want to do it. And that's how I've been working through this time. I ended up working for a pretty big company doing web design, and that's been like my like I work there 3 days a week. It pays all my bills, and now I can like have time to like dance and do other projects on the side. I can like just kind of still do all these other things, but I don't have to like feel like, oh, like I'm not following something because I'm just following myself. And I think like just being aware of that throughout like, yeah, just my journey since leaving school has been just, it's like there's obviously been like highs and lows where you feel like, oh, like you feel alone sometimes because you feel like, oh, like I'm doing this like journey that maybe doesn't seem like it like matches someone else's, or you don't maybe have an example, but like I think like they're your friends and your family and your peers are like examples of like everything that you may like, and like that's just kind of like, yeah, that's been like my journey, and I think, yeah, that's a little bit of my story.
So great, Owen. Thank you for sharing. So adorable. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and allow anybody that's watching, if you want to start throwing some questions into the chat, I'll keep my eye on that. But until then, I'll get the ball rolling a little bit here. Let's start with the ladies on this one. Ladies, anything that you can say coming from a woman's perspective has been maybe a little bit difficult, or was a hump in the road on this journey, kind of being your own boss, being a woman in the industry? Either one of you and both of you can take that. Isabel, you want to start?
Well, I've talked about this with other people. I think that what can be perceived, at least on the being a female, can also be used as like a hidden strength, because a lot of times, like, I know this sounds so silly, but like networking is so important for anyone trying to build a business. And a lot of times, I don't know, it's just how society is right now. Like a lot of times, if it's like a lone male approaching somebody, they're not necessarily as open to wanting to talk to them. But somehow like females are still deemed like less threatening. So basically I can just have conversations with more people where I am, because just me walking up to them, they're more open to just be like, oh, what's this lady want? And then I can be like, hi, I want to sell to you. And then the interaction's already, happening, and they don't usually run away. So I think that a lot of times just being underestimated as a woman, people aren't expecting you to try to sell to them or try to convince them on something. And when I say sell to them, I mean demonstrate the value of entertainment and why it's worth paying for. Sell can be a dirty word, but you know what I'm saying. What else? Yeah, I think just being young, being female, you're underestimated. People don't expect things, and it allows you to slide in ways that they don't see coming.
Very nice, Isabel. Dijon, anything you'd like to add on to that? Your career's gone every direction. I feel like you've kind of dealt with every kind of, whether it's a director or it's the industry. So tell us a little bit.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about fitness. As a woman of color and a woman, like we growing, your hips get bigger sometimes, like your breasts get bigger, like, and it is what it is. One thing that I dealt with, like, especially in my commercial career, is just like feeling like inadequate as far as like my body was concerned. And so like, I just want to let everyone know, like, to make sure you love yourself and you take care of yourself. And yes, you should eat good. You should put good things into your body. But if you want to have a donut, then eat the donut. Like, and don't let anyone make you feel like you're less than because, you're a little bit thicker than the next person. All bodies are dance bodies. And just, for the women, like, especially, just remember, like, don't make yourself feel any less than as far as fitness is concerned.
Couldn't unmute. Very beautiful words, Dijon. I definitely feel that pain. I have been along that journey as well. So it's always nice and refreshing to hear. All right, we have a question. I'm going to go ahead and bring that. Let's take this to John and to Cody. Within the process of creating your company/business, what is one thing that you wish you knew or had learned more about, maybe even before you started?
Definitely the business legal side of things. What kind of
Everything.
yeah, everything. I mean, how to do your taxes properly, who you should be contacting to do contractual work, getting permits, that whole side of things. You don't really learn at a dance school. You know, we didn't anyways.
And we're in a historic district, so we had to have extra permits for all the extra things.
All the
So
permits. I mean,
that kind of stuff threw us a curveball for sure.
but luckily, just like not being afraid to like reach out to someone, even if it has nothing to do with your business.
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah, make sure you really ask questions so that even if you sound like you have no idea what you're doing, because you probably don't, you'll figure it out that way. But if you're like, I think I can, you know, fudge this, that's when you're going to start to like kind of run into problems or end up spending more money than you should, or kind of delaying in your timeline. So,
And I would say, kind of as like a inspirational whatever, do follow, you know, your heart and ask your connections for things. Like, don't be afraid to, I know I say this to our students all the time, if you know someone and you need to know what, you know, a certain question or answer is, do reach out and ask. So many people are like, I don't know, I haven't talked to them in a few years. And it's like, they don't care. No one cares. Just ask the question and you'll get an answer.
yeah.
Very nice, gentlemen. Yay. All right, Mr. Owen, I'm going to throw this one at you. For the entrepreneurship class, they have a final assignment as designing their own websites. So what are some helpful, wonderful hints, and even anyone that likes to chime in about maybe things that you see on the website that you like to hire? So let's start with you, Owen.
I think before you design the website, write down or at least like know for yourself like what you want it to do and why you're making it. Because I think like also just as creatives, you can get really involved in like, how's this look? Where's this picture go? And then you can have this like site that you think is beautiful, but then the reason that you made it and like, yeah, the purpose may not read, and then you may not like have the results you want from making it. And so I think like the most important thing is kind of make a skeleton and just really map out what you want on there and what you want it to say and what's the purpose of like building the website. And also like just being careful too, like there's a balance between making it super abstract and then super just like too like maybe too like boring. But if you go on the super abstract side, it's hard for like people to kind of just find like, if I just want to contact you or figure out what you're doing, if there's like a lot of like in-depth language, or if like the tabs are like, say you're like nav bar and your tabs are like, instead of like contact, it's like another like phrase like trying to think like instead of just saying contact, people can be like,
Find me.
oh, like find me, or like just like other phrases where I'm just like, the more direct you are, the easier it's going to be for someone to contact you. So it's like making sure your language is kind of just pretty clear, because those sorts of things will like either like make someone like maybe turn away from your site because they get lost, or if you're doing a Google search and like your site's populating on like a search engine, those words like contact, location, about me, mission will all come up in those like ways that they're on your site. But if those words aren't on there, someone searching any of those things won't find your site. So it's like making sure like your intention for like your site is there before you even design it, and then filling in the blanks. And it also be easier to fill in like the design elements and like figure out what things you want on there once you know like what you want it to be for and what you want it to say. Because then you're like, oh, this picture either speaks to that or it doesn't, and then you won't have to be going back and forth so much. So I think it also saves time in the end. So I think that's like what I'd say is the most like
And if I
crucial.
can tag on to that too, but I 100% agree with everything you're saying, Owen. And I think you're referring to like the search engine optimization, the
Yeah, SEO.
right? Yeah, I'm always working on that. Something else I would just add is to have a call to action, such as, it depends on what you're selling, but I'm selling services. So I'll have something like join our newsletter for interesting blog content and behind the scenes, right? So if you can capture their information, that's key. If you can get their email, get their number,
Mhm.
to contact them, right? Because the first time you contact them, they might not buy. But then if you have their email, you've tried them again in 3 months. You tried them again in 6 months. You tried them again in a year. You just keep on them until they buy. So that's sales. So you can't even start that sales pipeline if you don't have their email. So some sort of call to action for my site is very important, so I can capture their information.
Very good, everyone. Okay, big one. And I would love for all of you to touch on this in some way. So how do you think business and life and entertainment is going to come out on the other side of this pandemic. Not in any way negative, meaning what do you think is going to stay and what do you think is going to just kind of flourish away after all of this? What do you think we're going to bring with us? Go ahead, Cody and John.
Well, what we noticed was, I mean, we all kind of last March were smacked with this huge, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And we were in the middle of, we just opened up our business in June. So we were about to open up our business and we were like, oh my gosh, all of our savings are going into like, you know, our dream. So we were freaking out, but luckily John's sister gave us a word of advice and we kind of stuck to that and we're still sticking to it, is adapt, adapt, adapt. Do not be afraid to adapt to whatever conditions you're being put in, to whatever situation you're being put in. So we, you know, before even things moved onto Zoom, we were like, all right, we're going to put dance classes on Instagram Live. And, you know, we will put our Venmo in and you guys can take our class. If you want to donate, you can. If you don't want to donate, you don't have to. And then from there, we went to like a full Zoom program where we were teaching like ballet, jazz, stretch and strength, like conditioning classes.
Just to get our name out there because we were trying to start.
So
that helped a lot.
That really helped. And I mean, we don't know where we're going to be in a year because obviously no one does. So I think coming out of this or moving forward is don't be afraid to adapt and don't be afraid to take a step back and realize like maybe this is not practical right now, but it might be in the future, but you have to do what's best for you at like this point.
Like we both actually had done what you had mentioned, yoga. We had just completed our yoga certifications. And so that was a huge thing we were excited to bring into the space, but then COVID hit and we were like, bringing that many people into the room for breathing, you know, exercise might not be the best thing. So we had to kind of take that off, even though we had just put all the money and work into it and focus just on our dance and who's coming into the space. And that's something that now is more our personal practice and we'll hopefully bring that back in. So just adapting and figuring out what's your best way to move forward.
Yes, it was definitely the year to adapt.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted to or not, for certain. Do you have anything else you'd like to touch on? Anyone on that? If not, we have another question in the chat from Miss Annette. Hi, Annette. Do you have any advice about marketing on social media? Dijon, Isabel, Owen.
Owen might be better.
Marketing.
Not sure. Oh, sorry.
Nope.
My main thing would just be engage. So engage with other users' accounts. You know, if you want, you've got to give what you want to get, basically. So it definitely is a time commitment. Finding the accounts you want to be interacting with, talking with them, commenting. You know, it's not just about the like. You got to take it deeper. You got to take it further. You got to reshare. You got to message them. And then by you engaging with all of them, ideally these accounts and these people and these companies will notice you and engage with you back. With the hashtag game, that's so hard. I've been hearing only 10 to 15 hashtags, switch up the hashtags. And I've also been hearing put it in a comment, not in the caption. But I'm not the expert on social media marketing. It's always changing. That's what's so hard about it. TikTok, snap this, snap that. It's hard to keep up.
Owen, did you want to tag on to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say like the strategy wise, it's always changing. I think those are great things that Isabel was saying. Like, but I think on top of that, just also making sure your voice is from you, because since there really is everything and anything online, and there's so many different people like promoting and like talking about different things, it's like you can do you the best. And I think like making sure that no matter what you put out there, like taking away like that judgment of like, oh, is this correct, or is this the best for me? It's like, you know, it's best for you, and like you putting out like what you honestly want to say, and then engage. It'll be easier for you to engage with people about what you're putting out there if what you're putting out there is something that you authentically like can engage about. So I think like just authenticity is a big thing. And I think that also if I have to think about like dance work, a lot of things now, if you like are booked through your Instagram because there's not an in-person audition for something, being authentic is key, because then if don't look like the person that you are on your Instagram when you show up to the job, it's going to be a very, different, like you can be turned away from the job. It's going to be like very difficult if that's like a very like common case for yourself. So I think just staying authentic to who you are. Yeah.
All great, wonderful pieces of advice to share with. I mean, we're in our last week here, so we have a whole bunch of kiddos graduating this week. So if there are any seniors watching right now, I hope that you're taking some notes. These lovely, very talented individuals have definitely spread their love and their passion and made it even more than it already was. So I hope that you're being inspired by what they're telling you today. Let's continue talking about, how about grants? What do you think about grant writing? Good times, right? Anyone have a piece of grant writing they'd like to share, whether good or bad? It's always an important one.
Well, I'll just go first because this isn't really my wheelhouse. I just don't want to deal with grants. I think they're an amazing thing, but since I would rather just try to personally get money from individuals that hire me. But I don't know as much about grant writing, but I think it sounds amazing, all of it.
Great. Dijon, go ahead.
With grant writing, I would just suggest that like you need to be as specific as possible to a T when you're grant writing, and then also patience. Just have patience, because sometimes it takes a while for the funds to come in.
That is so true. Patience, which I don't think any of us as artists are that wonderful at, but we try. I try. Let's see, what else we want to talk about today? There's so much to talk about. What about your adventures of moving, like changing locations, whether it's your business or yourself? Any helpful hints to these graduates that are about to fly out of the nest this week?
I'll touch on that. I would say embrace change. Always embrace change. I mean, when we were graduating, we were set on Chicago and we were like, we love Chicago. Live there. We did love everything about it. And then when it felt right for us to try something new, it was scary, but you just take it on and go for it. And then we got to LA and it was a whole new experience and new friends, new life, new jobs, and
completely different dance community.
And same thing moving back to Cincinnati. I feel like we were kind of like, what are we going to do here? But knowing now, hey, we have more time because we don't have to hustle as much. Now we can focus on, external jobs and doing things for us and making our own schedule based around that. So take change as something that's like a little scary, but it's also something that's going to launch your career into a new direction that might be something you weren't anticipating.
And going off that, I mean, when you change up your space, so whether you move or you switch jobs, you're meeting new people. And life is all about, in my mind, life is all about meeting new people, creating new experiences, and experiencing them yourself. So don't be afraid to just you don't have to be friends with dancers. You know what I mean? Like, yes, be friends with everyone. Be friends with everyone. But I feel like growing up, you only stick with this dance bubble, and you go to your studio and then you only hang out with people in your grade or in your classes. And it's you're there for a certain reason, but you should be learning about other people, and other jobs, other occupations have so much to offer that you can also take back into your own personal life.
Even being at school, I will say to you, kids that are still there, we were very much friends with students that were 2 years above us, students that were 2-3 years below us. And those connections have stayed with us throughout the last 10 years of us being, 10 years almost.
Oh my God, don't
almost
say that.
10 years of us being out of school.
Yeah.
But I mean, we talk to a lot of those dancers still all the time, just from the period of time.
Going off that, you never know who you're going to run into. So
be nice to everyone.
So be nice to everyone, create positive experience. And don't be afraid to even if you don't really know them, smile at someone, say, hey, get to know someone, make someone's day a little bit brighter by being like, oh yeah, reach out. You look gorgeous on Instagram, or wow, I haven't seen you move in a while. I'm so happy that
you're dancing
again. Or
those little things matter.
Those little things matter. And those little things will help you create future endeavors. So someone needs someone for a gig and you're like,
I know so-and-so because they just talked to me the other day.
Yeah. So
that is a huge thing, because I know Isabel and Owen talked about that earlier. But I mean, when we were in LA, a lot of our marketing and things was just through friends being like, hey, can I shoot you for trade and take some pictures of you? Or hey, can I use you for this dance job, but like then I'll give you this? Or like everything was kind of a play on like who's friends with who and why do you want to do that? And using that to your advantage but not relying on it, I think was an important tool.
Because at the end of the day, people want to hire people that
They know and like.
they know and they like and they want to work with
And can trust.
and can trust. So you're not going to hire someone who hasn't done anything, you know, good for you and has bad energy and isn't creating like a fun experience. You know, you want to hire your friends, or you want to hire people that you know are good people. So that's it.
So be good.
So be a nice person.
So true, though. Those connections are everything and mean so much. And kind of continuing on that hiring line, because I mean, if you're hiring an artist, whether it's for, you know, one of your gigs, Isabel, or gentlemen, if you're hiring a teacher to come teach for you, or Owen, if you're looking to hire, you know, you get the gist. What are some things that you are looking for? I mean, gentlemen, you talked about, of course, being authentic, but any other like business side things that you think that these kids should focus on?
I can answer that because I work with a lot of clients that, you know, they're on social media and they're aware of the world around them. And so I know this is kind of a difficult subject, but I obviously all the things that the guys just said, like they need to be reliable, they need to be trustworthy, they need to be nice people. They need to be just as nice to the waiter or the janitor as they are to the client who's paying thousands of dollars, right? It doesn't matter. All humans are equal. So they need to be treating everybody the same. But in addition to that, just social media, especially if you have a public account, things you post, because we live in a world where if you are going to put things out there for everybody to see, you can do that. Just realize it has consequences. So if you're posting things that are extremely polarizing, like you might be a liability to my business. So that's something to think about as well. And then we go into all types of different environments with all different types of clients and people and clientele, and you have to be able to stay neutral.
Just piggybacking off of what Isabel said, with your social media. So when I was dancing for the Cavs, they would kind of like police our social media accounts because we represented the organization. And, you know, even when you think you're not being watched, like you're always being watched. And so certain things like you just should not post, even if it's like a Instagram story and Snapchat are 24 hours, but you don't know who's screen recording or like who's going to screenshot and different things like that. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the list of rules, but like contracts will state certain things. So read your contract, but just make sure, like, definitely, like, that's something that I look for too. Like, but just make sure that your social media and how you present yourself as an artist just comes out, you know.
Good answer. Very good answer. What else do we want to tap into? When do you think that, this is a good one. Someone asked me this the other day and I was like, when do you think that things started to kind of make more sense? You started to become a little bit more financially sound. Like, when did you start to pay attention to those things? I know it doesn't happen directly after school, let's be real, but like when the kids were very interested in knowing about when, or if it has happened yet, when that happens in life, because they're scared to death. And we all know that first jump's a little terrifying. All right, gentlemen.
I would just say, I mean, going into concert work, you know, there is not money in concert work.
As much as you would like.
As much as you would like. So you just have to realize, like, you know, you are going to be either living paycheck to paycheck, or you're
getting
not
a second job.
Getting a second job, or you're not going to be going out and getting these, you know, $150 meals every weekend, you know,
for that time period in your life.
And that's okay, because you're doing it for the love of art and you're, you know,
experiencing
getting so much experience, but also know your worth, right? Don't be working for $75 a week and being like, but it's for dance, you know, like that's not for dance. That's, you know,
just not enough money.
That's not enough money to live off of.
Especially if you're working full time.
Exactly. So just know your worth, but realize, like, yeah, you're not going to be rolling in the dough right away. And that's okay. That's okay. Money you know, we live in this world where we're like so like money hungry, and you don't need to be like that. As long as you're able to survive and you're comfortable, and maybe not even comfortable, you're just like happy, that's
And
when
inspired.
it's okay, and inspired. But the second you're not happy, the second you're not inspired, the second you're like, oh, I can't afford to eat, then there's a problem. Then you need to figure out, you know, the next step. Or
Then you go back to that last thing of changing, moving. What's the next move in your career? What are you going to do?
so.
Anyone else wants to? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Speaking of making money, one way you were talking about like dancers who travel to different locales or locations. I think that I love doing this. Offering master classes can be a great way to make extra income if you're in a city you've never been in. And like we've all been saying, think about your connections. Who do you know that's in that city that knows someone that's involved with the studio where they would want to host you as a master class teacher? So I just love master classes. I love attending them, and then I think it's great to be able to offer them as well.
Cody.
I will say off of that, yes, master classes, any sort of choreography for studios in the summer workshops, that's always a great way to just like kind of keep a little change. Nutcrackers in the winter.
All the nutcrackers.
I will say, and Owen can say the same for this because we all got involved in them. But when we lived in Chicago, our paycheck from our company jobs was like, yes, that was, you know, put towards our living, but we did a lot of gig work. Like make connections with people that were like, hey, you're going to make $600 to dance at this birthday party. And we did.
You just go like this, you smile, and you know what? It helps.
But I would
make
say
things a
we
little
would make
easier.
some months when it was busy, it would be like an extra $1,500, $2,000 a month that we were just like doing on the weekend for extra money, which really made a difference. So picking up where you need to.
Yes, we try to reinforce that. That's why it's so important to do everything, not just whatever your focus you might think it might be, but being able to tap, being able to sing, being able to hang on a rope. You know, I mean, that's so, especially now, I'm sure you know, Isabel, you know, having an entertainment, how huge that has become a part of our world. So I think the more, the better these days for certain.
And that kind of ties on to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Isabel, go ahead.
Okay, because you asked earlier, like trends with COVID and the future going forward. You know, it is my utmost hope that we open theaters again and that you can cram a lot of people into the Broadway theaters and see this wonderful entertainment, right? That's the goal, that's the hope. But, you know, if that for some reason doesn't happen, or if they can only fit half the theater, so the prices have to go up, so then theater's not as accessible for everybody. There are other ways, like there are pop-ups, there are, you know, doing things virtually. And then this trend of having events at home, I mean, that's obviously beneficial for my business because we like doing a lot of privatized events. But, you know, art can happen anywhere. Entertainment can happen anywhere. And I think we're moving away from that thought of like, it has to be in a theater, on a stage. And we're starting to realize like art is all around us and we can bring it all around us. And I think that's really exciting.
And
Go ahead, Owen.
I was just say to go off of that too is like, since there's like so many different ways that people have like been creating this past year to like just bring some sort of like personal interactive experience, even if it's not in person, that required people that had like more digital like experience that like maybe could like do video work, and like, or someone was like, maybe I should pick up this camera that I've had and I have like always had an interest in it but haven't done it. I feel like I've seen friends do that and like start to use these other like pieces of themselves that they haven't tapped into to like create these experiences that maybe weren't in person, or just things that like were like limited in the amount of people that can come. So I feel like going back to like, if you have like another like skill, especially if it's like in a digital like world, like don't be afraid to like incorporate it into what you're doing with your dance career, because it at the end could all work together. And so just like not throwing anything out the window, like being like a yes and type of person in this scenario, like just like really not letting something seem like it's a limitation, where it could just be like what you need to just like get to the next point. You just have to look or turn your head another direction and be like, oh, actually, like where I thought there was a block, I just needed to make a right. Like, you know, like there's just like could be like so many other things you could pull into like your like dance career, and like also that could help you like get your art out there and make money. So I think those sorts of things too, like to keep in mind as you're just like moving through your career, especially like after this year, just seeing that other people have really done that. And I think it's been like, I've seen like a lot of people having success in it, or like even finding that like, oh, like I like directing, and like moving into like directing and choreographing, and maybe they had just danced in the past, and like kind of forced them to kind of look in a different direction and realize, oh, I have this whole side of myself that I like haven't ever explored, but now like I was forced to, and like actually want to keep doing this. So just like, yeah, you never know what's gonna spark your next like inspiration to do something.
I think you all nailed it, saying, adapting, especially at this time, is more than important. We actually, even this year, I mean, depending on how old you are, it was either SCS or SCP, Student Choreography Showcase or Student Choreography Project. But allowing that, because of COVID, not forcing everything to be on stage, allowing that opportunity for them to film other places and to bring, just more reality into their projects really opened up a fantastic door, and I was super proud of the outcome. They were beautiful. So thank you for re-encouraging these thoughts, because I think that it's something that we right now can take with a grain of salt, or we can really make it something beautiful and continue to grow with it, make it enhance our art, make everything better. So all right, here's the doozy. We're hitting out on our last 15 minutes here. What would you tell your 22-year-old self if you could? Oh boy. Think about it for a second. What would you tell that 22-year-old Point Park kiddo getting ready to fly the nest? Shoulders up. Don, you ready?
Oh.
Just kidding. Isabel, are you ready?
Yeah, I can go. And I'll kind of start by when I heard Dijon talking earlier about not always getting cast. That was my journey as well at Point Park. And so I think that I would tell myself right when I was graduating that whatever happens in school isn't necessarily indicative of what will happen in the rest of the universe. And I actually, and sometimes I'm a very honest person. I'll tell people like, that can be a frustration. I don't know what it's like now. This was 10 years ago, but I say in some ways, I'm actually really glad that was the situation, because nothing else could prepare you for what the real world is going to be like after Point Park. And I think that being in these rooms and not necessarily getting cast, it shows you like, yes, you're going to have competition.
Absolutely.
Like, it's gonna be hard. Yeah. And if anything, I felt like auditions after Point Park were actually kind of easier after being in the room at Point Park. Yeah, Sean. So I would just say, don't ever be discouraged that one experience one day does not dictate what the rest of your life is going to be like. And things are hard, both in Point Park and afterwards. Like we're all sitting here like, yeah, we've got this great setup, but it wasn't all picture perfect. And you are going to go through a lot of challenges, but I would tell myself to always remember that the hard work and the rejection, it's worth it. You're learning, you're getting stronger, you're getting more resilient, and there is a brighter future ahead.
Amazing. I love it. I'm inspired from that. That was perfect, Isabel. Anyone want to add on to that? Cody, go ahead.
Sorry, Owen, I'm going to cut you off. I would just say stay true to who you are and your morals and what your actual goals are. You're going to hear plenty of no's. You're going to hear more no's than you'll hear yeses. But there's going to be that one person who's going to see something special in you. And when they do, just take it and run. And, don't be afraid to take it back and be like, why am I doing this? And then you realize, oh, I'm doing this for the love of dance, for my art form. Being that 11-year-old boy in tights and, dreaming of like one day taking this stage and having people pay to see you dance, that's what really makes it worth it. And seeing these kids that we're teaching, some of them like, thinking about looking into Point Park or taking a career in Broadway or
already being at Point Park.
Or already being at Point Park. Hey, Talia. Just like really instilling like, you're doing this because you love dance. You're not doing this for any other reason. And then embellishing on that, I guess.
Yeah, I would say very similar. And also not letting yourself, we talked about like limiting where you could go with your career. I think if a lot of friends and people that we graduated with had been more open to just like whatever happens. I think a lot of people were like, if my friends don't see me dance for this company, or if I don't make this artistic choice, what is my career going to be? And I'll be seen as a failure, which none of us cared about that. Everyone was just out there to support each other. And I think letting yourself embrace that and just
Yeah,
do
I
what you
mean,
love.
we were extremely lucky. Like, obviously, we all everyone puts in hard work. Everyone puts in the time and the energy.
But we fit the bill that the companies
we
needed.
were very lucky and fortunate to have, like, you know, a job right out of college. And, you know, some of our friends weren't. And I think the best thing to do is, like,
switch it up if it's not right.
Switch it up. If it's not right, go do something else or figure it out, or, you know, try again. Because it doesn't hurt to try again. But I feel like once we get that one rejection, we're like, like,
the company hates me. The director didn't even look at me.
Yeah.
The director probably literally didn't even think about it.
Yeah. So just also putting yourself into other people's shoes, like, look at a cattle call audition, you know, look at, you know, probably how many talented people there are there, and realize, like, yes, I either am going to get the job or I'm not going to get the job. And it's probably with the blink of an eye.
And don't rely your whole life on it.
Yeah.
So true, right? We think everything has a different importance at that age. And I feel like as you start to make your journey, it starts to calm down and things start to balance out a little bit more. Dijon, did you want to tag on to that at all? Anything you would tell your younger self?
Yeah, I think Owen was before me, but I do want to tag on after he finishes.
Thank you. Just like kind of like going off what John and Cody were saying, just staying present. I think I think we all are just like dreamers, and like allowing your dreams to like not like hinder you in the way that, like, if you feel like you're not like getting like immediate results or steps that are like the steps that you're taking don't seem to be like getting you to like what you're like envisioning in your head. I think like taking that away when you're like thinking about like your future or moving forward, because for me, I like definitely would think about things happening a certain way, and then sometimes even if it was like, oh, the company job that like I was like, oh, like I'm graduating, I want this, like the way thought about it in my head once I got there, the experience could have been completely different than what I imagined. And if you like kind of stay in this space of like, oh, I'm in doing the dream, but you may not like it, you may want to move on because you're not actually being aware of what's happening in the moment while you're doing it, and staying in this space of like, oh, like this is like, yeah, this is the dream, I should be doing this. It's like you may get somewhere and realize, I don't like where I'm at, like I'm not being treated the right way, I don't want to be like in this place where like my value doesn't feel like it's like being like nurtured. And like, so there's like those things that like I definitely learned like throughout just like my career after Point Park, because I think like, you know, we all have like things that we want to do and we picture doing them, and sometimes you do them and then you might get to this place and you're like, oh, like it's everything I imagined and more. But I think like letting the place show you what it has to show you, and not like letting it be the other way around, because then you'll like also like know if it's right for you, and then if it's not, you'll have more clarity of when you should move on and make a next step. And I think that also allows like timing to naturally like take its place, because when I moved to LA, I didn't even think about doing like the commercial jobs I did. Like when I was at Point Park, I was like concert. And then I got to LA and I did all these things out here that like when I was like younger, like at my dance studio growing up, I'd see people like performing on an award show or doing like, yeah, different things with artists. And I was like, oh, like those were things in my head. But when I like imagined myself doing something at Point Park, it was never doing the commercial work. It was never picturing myself in that space. And so like when I got there and was doing these things in LA, I was like, this is like better than I could have imagined, because I actually just let it take place in the timing it was supposed to. But if I probably would have like had a different mentality of like trying to force things in, or trying to feel like I must do this to feel happy, or doing this will bring me joy, it would have probably not have happened the way it happened. And I think just like letting what's the world and your life is supposed to show you in the moment it's supposed to show you, and not letting your your idea of something kind of like cloud what is actually happening when you're experiencing a job or a company or whatever it is. I think just really letting yourself stay present, as hard as it could be with some distractions after you leave Point Park, just like that will help you, I think, just really stay focused on yourself. And kind of like if you're feeling like lost or feeling like you don't know like what you want to do, or you're something's not sitting right with you, will help you like figure out what's next, or like where, at least even if it's not like what's next, like what's gonna make you like feel happy. So that's like what I tell myself.
Living in that moment, not so easy to do, but when we do, it definitely the right things happen. So thank you for those encouraging words. Dijon, bring us home. Tell us, what would you tell that 22-year-old?
Stop comparing yourself. Your blessings are your blessings, and some people's blessings come before yours, and you need to be happy for your friends. And when you get your blessing, be thankful that you got your blessing. Patience, which Kiki said earlier, artists, it's hard for us to have patience, but you need to find it. Like, please find it, and just be happy for your friends on the way, because you would want them to be happy for you.
Kiki.
Yes, I could not unmute myself. Holy cannoli. All right, that was perfect, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing. It's just so nice to hear your success and that your pathways, and to share that it's not always what we think it's going to be, but in the end, that journey is so worth it if you stick with it and you trust your gut and you follow your heart. But I love that we all started with that one nucleus of dance, that started the journey, no matter where it ends up, that's the nucleus and the heartbeat of all of your pathways. And we are so proud of the alums of Point Park University and so grateful that you all have joined us today. Congratulations, Isabel. Congratulations on your up and coming graduation. All right. And you guys are keep doing what you're doing. I would love to have some of these entrepreneurship classes with you. So maybe you'll hear from me and have you as a guest speaker. I'll be talking to them next semester as well. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and for your journey. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. You did so well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy.